Hey, I'm Cyclon, and originally I wanted to make a video about talking about how good Breach is this league, because two of the three big issues Breach had can be solved now. But it didn't turn out as good, and I will get to that in a moment. Just first, I do want to mention the three issues Breach has and why two of those are now solved or can be solved. So Breach had the issue is its main gain or its only really big gain is the splinters. Now there is the side gain of breach rings, you can vendor those to get grasping mails, and those could roll with a decent grasping mail only mod, but we can get this league at least with Necropolis, and they just not worth anything, and or well, not anything, but worth very little, so it's not really worth the hassle to buy a bunch of grasping mails and then ID and hope they're good. You can sell them un-ID'd, but that's besides the point. So the big issue of Breach is that main gain is splinters. So to run Breach properly, you need to click a lot of times during looting in your map to get all those single splinters out, so you get a good amount of splinters on each of your map. Then the second thing is, to get those splinters you need to open the breach, walk through all the clasping mates. At least now we need to walk through, we don't need to click on those anymore. Walk through them, get all the splinters dropped, kill the enemies, kill the breach if it spawns, and then you now have your splinters that you now need to loot, making these like 7-minute maps, including running and looting, maybe sometimes even a bit longer, because it just takes a long to run 5 to 7 breaches if you completely full clear them. Now this league though, we got a new scarab introduced, and that is the Scarab of Lordship. This scarab guarantees a breach lord. So what we can do, while it reduces the amount of splinters we get per map, it heavily increases the time we gain in a map. We can just spawn the breaches as fast as possible, make them open as quickly as possible, guarantee a breach lord, so we can now clear the breach lord, get our splinters from the breach lord, maybe loot a 2-stack that randomly dropped, but ignore all the 1-stack splinters, go to the next breach and repeat the process. This means that our now 7 to, I don't know, let's say 10-minute maps get reduced to 2 to 3-minute maps, making them incredibly quickly. So we spend way less time looting and way less time running, because we just care about get the breach lord spawned, kill the breach lord, continue. So this combines really well with having a chance to double the breach lord if you want to use the Dreamer Scarab, meaning only Chayula breaches, or you could combine it with Freedom of the Flesh, having both Ul and Chayula breaches, and get a breach lord. Sometimes they even drop double the splinters. I actually don't know the exact source of that, but there's a chance for breach lords to just double the splinters they drop. So you just get a bunch of breach lords, a bunch of splinters. Most of it, or half of the time, they should double, and then you also get chances for getting additional breach lords when you open the class temp offset lord specifically, so those we can still look out for. And all that, it sounds really amazing, right? Breach suddenly sounds really decent to have. You're gonna get a lot of breach stones, you're gonna get a lot of splinters, and you can sell those, right? At least that's the theoretical part. Practically, it's still a big issue, and then there's a side issue. And the last third issue, the biggest issue I saw with breach is its liquidability. It's a capability of selling in bulk. If we have Legion, you're gonna get rid of all your emblems with one person. Like, you go to TFT, you look for somebody that buys emblems, you get rid of all your emblems in one go. Then you have stacked decks, you list them, you get rid of them in one go. Then you maybe have some liquid currency, you list them for divines, you get rid of them in one go. Well, breach stones are barely bought in divines. Now, the small breach stones, you sometimes can get bigger sales for like 5 or 10 at a time. I had like 5 ashes or 10 tools sold at some point, maybe 3 to 4 urls sold at a time, so those can sometimes sell in smaller bulk. But Chayulas, the best I've gotten was selling 2 at once. Any other time, people just want one Chayula, want to maybe unlock their fiat and be done with it. There is not a demand for Chayula in bulk. So the higher profitability by utilizing, I don't have one right now on me, but utilizing the Dreamer Scarab, which guarantees you a Chayula breach, would result in just Chayula breach zones that don't sell in bulk, so they sell for a bit more. Or you could say, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet, or not bite the bullet, I'm going to not run that, I'm just going to get random breach stones, I'm going to sell those, and then the small ones can sell in bulk. But still, the biggest profit part, the Chayula ones, they do not sell in bulk, they do not sell that quickly. I had to just, once I listed it, needed 10 or like almost 10 minutes just for them to start being seen on trade. Then I needed to underprice everything because there's a lot of listings. Now that I finally got listings, I needed to keep standing my high like for 10-15 minutes, and I had maybe sold half. So it takes a really long time to liquefy the breach stones, which is the third big issue. And now after all that, there's still the side issue. I took the liberty to add a breach to my sheet, and I took my data from 50 runs, that is a total of 67 breach stones, and I looked at the profitability. And assuming my 3-minute maps, assuming the low cost of 17C a map, I still only would have made like 2 divines an hour. And there is no random drops you can get outside of that. If the map maybe gives you random ether mods, maybe a divine shrine, sure, that's good, but you could have gotten that on any other strategy as well. Breach doesn't provide much of a side benefit. There are the grasping mails, sure, but again, this league, they don't seem that good. Now, I guess I do need to mention, I did not run any quantity on my gear, and I did not utilize ether altars properly. Breach scales with quantity, meaning ether altars can scale it up, meaning that if you get the quantity on the ether altars on yourself, you're gonna get more splinters. If you're gonna get more quantity in your gear, you're gonna get a few more splinters. So this could add up to like 1 to 2 additional splinters per breach boss, because I noticed that depending on the map roll, they gave either 6 to 7 without a scarab of splintering, or 8 to 9 if you had a scarab of splintering. So quantity does affect them. It's just, I don't know how, don't think it's gonna add up, because even if you add quantity, we're looking at 2 divines an hour, and if you would assume you're gonna use the Scarab of the Dreamer, you would look at 3 divines an hour. And that is not per se a good number, even considering how quickly you can run these maps, how quickly it's, in a profit per hour basis, it just doesn't compare good with other things. Now, even with Legion that isn't in the best state this league, it is way worse. So I cannot in good conscience recommend Breach to anybody. I leave it here on my spreadsheet for those that just enjoy Breach and just want to run it. Now, all that said, the video doesn't need to be any longer. There doesn't need to be anything else mentioned here. Have a wonderful day. I'll be seeing you in my next video, hopefully about a strategy that is better than Breach. Bye bye.